On this episode of the podcast, I have with me Santhosh Kumar. He is the head of data at Trepp. We're going to be talking about data as a product. I think what we're going to really be covering on this episode is what does that mean, right? I think a lot of people are talking about data as a product and trying to productize data. And I think a lot of times we just don't understand how that impacts the data team, what kind of mindset shift we need to see for the team to actually align to it. And we see software engineering very focused in terms of product and shipping. Are we trying to mirror some of those facets that we see in other disciplines? We're going to have Santhosh dive in and cover all those things. I'm excited to have you on the show, Santhosh. Thanks for being on.
Thank you, Amir, for having me.
Awesome, man. All right. So you're the head of data at Trepp. We'll learn a little bit more about your team, but tell us what Trepp does a little bit in terms of what's the company do?
Yeah, so Trepp specializes in providing data and insights to structured finance, commercial real estate, and banking markets.
So when it comes to being the head of data, just so that we understand a little bit more, who's on your team typically? Do you have the machine learning and AI people on your team, data engineering? What comprises your team over there?
Oh, so my team comprises of both data engineers as well as software engineers, and then we have different verticals and different products. And my team specializes and focuses on building the data products and pipelines to serve various requests for our stakeholders internally as well as externally.
Awesome. All right. So data as a product, it's not a new topic. I think what I always struggle with is it seems to mean slightly different things to different people, different viewpoints of what the data is that's going to be shaped into a product. It's not sometimes the same as what's discussed on the software side. There's some nuances. I guess at the top, and just to get your thoughts on what this means, when you hear data as a product, what is the objective? What does it mean?
Let me explain this by first telling you what a data product is. Data products are reports, dashboards, or any CSV files that the data teams provide to our customers. Customers here can be internal or external stakeholders. For a good number of years, data teams served as support teams in developing these data products to the stakeholders. But we missed something in this process, that is to understand the business goals and the purpose of building these data products. So data as a product is a methodology as opposed to a thing that brings the most value out of the data products. Here, the values can be increasing the revenue or optimizing cost or improving the user experience. This can be achieved by understanding and aligning with the overall business goals. A couple of important qualities that we keep in mind for data as a product are making sure the data is discoverable by the stakeholders and focusing on data governance, which also includes data quality, data security, and ensuring data content.
Let me ask you this question, because I might be misunderstanding this and I might not be viewing this correctly. And I'd love your viewpoint. So you have software engineers on your team. You just described products that the team is responsible for shipping in a way, right? I guess data is very different. Data has evolved. Data has evolved from, hey, I can go do this myself, but there's too much data, so I need you to go build me something. Now it's like, well, we have all this data. How do we actually draw the value out from it? When you look at your team and what it's comprised of today and kind of the focus, are you seeing yourself more aligned to technology or more aligned to business? And the reason I ask that is data has had a rich history of being a support function to business. You're telling me you have software engineers on your team, data engineer. I mean, sounds really technical. Data has become very technical. I mean, how do you view yourself? Are you aligned to the business or the technology? And I don't mean that you don't solve business problems. You do. But where do you see yourself fit more, business side or technology side?
So I think striking a balance is what is the key here. So we use technology to translate the business requirements accordingly, and then try to find out the best strategy that can actually maximize the value that it brings. Say that's exactly how the data as a product comes into the picture, and it looks at the requirements holistically as opposed to serving the request and providing the data products as is. I feel like both technology and business are important. How we actually use technology to actually maximize the value that business brings in is where the key is.
Absolutely. And the reason I ask that is when I speak to people in your role, head of data, responsible for productizing data, it sounds like a much more technical role than ever. You have software engineers, you have ops people. It sounds like obviously you have a CTO at the company, but it sounds like you're the CTO of the data side, right? So head of data, you know, it has an interesting term to it, but it's almost as though it's CTO comma data because how technical it's gotten. But obviously you must have a relationship with the CTO because you have infrastructure needs. Talk to us a little bit about when you're thinking and looking at data as a product, you have to deal with that scope. There's overlaps with actual technology teams. How does that relationship work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One example I can actually provide here is to understanding the business goals and then making sure how we actually come up with the strategy to actually achieve and align with them. So one of them would be to actually having the stakeholders self-serve the data, as opposed to we provide the data as and when needed. One here again, this involves this process causes some kind of collaboration and alignment gaps between the business and data teams. And then one example would be let's say we when we actually talk data as a product, try to make sure that that can be provided provided as a way for the stakeholders to actually self-serve them, be it making sure that we make it available and power our data warehouse so that they can actually build on top of that themselves with the SQL knowledge that they have, and build custom dashboards, or be it providing and make the data in a separate Kafka topic, and then making sure it actually lands on the place where they wanted the data to be. So that's how I see there is an alignment between the business and technology.
Absolutely. When you're thinking about data as a product, how does your data strategy shift? Just I guess maybe at the top level, like when you're thinking about data as a product, what are some of the things that have changed so that maybe your strategy of how you view your team and infrastructure have changed over time?
Absolutely. So I think there since it's like a methodology that that I'm talking about, there is the mindset shift that needs to happen, that has happened over the past few years. So when I say this mindset shift, it is how you actually see a requirement, how you actually see the particular requirement that comes to you from the when you are building a data product. Say for example, when you work with the product, they have a funnel of ideas that they get through by interacting with your clients, or interacting with your external stakeholders, and then how do you actually pick the ones out of that funnel, and then finding out the one that actually brings you the most value out of it. Well, how do you prioritize it? Again, it's the collaborative effort, and then there are a bunch of things that you actually try to identify, like instead of directly jumping onto serving the request and then like just like providing the data, like we ask questions, collaborate with them, like start solving the problems, have a holistic look, and how can we solve the problem. Can that be solved just by like providing data, or like is there any other approach that you can actually make use of to reduce the number of back and forth requests that you have, and then like trying to find out the North Star metrics, try to find out the ROI for building that product, and then making sure that it is actually aligning with your business goals and the company's goals, and then effective way of building the data product. These are some questions that you would ask, and then try to get the answers, evaluate them, and then accordingly come up with a strategy to serve the request.
I'm listening to you, and I'm trying to think about how your world, if we were to overlay the data world on top of software engineering, right? We're seeing data focused product managers. You have your own products you're shipping. It's not a clear overlap, right? There's still differences because I don't know. I don't even think it's time, because I think data projects can take a long time. Like, they don't happen quickly. Like, outside of reporting, I mean, core data. If you were to overlay data and software engineering methodologies, right? What are some of the key differences you see when you're maybe comparing the two different life cycles?
So I feel the data quality is something that actually is crucial for data engineers to actually look into. That's when, so I guess like that should be there, like along the process, like when you actually get the data, you get it, like like you maybe like some heterogeneous data that you get in, that kind of data quality should be present right from the beginning, as opposed to like having it as like one step. It should be present in every single step when when you actually ingest the data. Want to make sure like you take care of the data quality, and then like you obviously have like the checks, and then like the null checks, things like that, to make sure that at every step like you are actually taking care of that. Data accuracy is like another thing that that's like part of the data quality. But then like to answer your question, like how does it actually the overlap between like the software engineers and the data engineers, because again, like getting that quality data is something that is crucial. And then like how do you actually achieve it? How do you make use of the different frameworks and methodologies to actually get there? That can be again like divided into different software tasks or the data related tasks. And then when you are in the process of doing it, like you obviously need software engineers in terms of like the data generation, data you get the data from. Is it like kind of like even streaming data that you get it, like in that case, like are you going to have generate the data from your app server, and then how are you going to make it across your data pipeline? And then how are we going to again serve the data? Who is going to be the consumers of the end product that you've built in? Is it like going to be like a web app? Is it like going to be like user facing applications where like you need to actually make use of the APIs, and then like make use of that's when the software engineers actually come into the picture. Yeah.
Do you, on your team, do you have a product manager focused on data? Or maybe it's your responsibility, but who plays the role of the actual, like, that product manager for the data team?
Yeah. So, I closely work with the product manager, and there is a product manager that actually focuses on the requirements, product requirements, and then I collaborate with them on areas like, what are the products that, we, in terms of like, roadmap building, and what projects that we, give high priority to, in terms of stack ranking them, and then again refining the requirements for the projects, things like that.
And I love the insights, because I think, what's really interesting is when you start looking at data as a product and you start looking at software, I think they're becoming more aligned. I think over time, data is leaving some of its historical roots and how it interacts with business, and it's becoming forward thinking, right? We're moving to analytics and AI. And those are all heavy lifting stuff that need time, much like software projects. Do you foresee, and again, maybe this is the crystal ball question and I know you've dealt with ML and AI, as you start looking at your role, do you start thinking maybe there will be a time where there'll be two data individuals, one focused on more business initiatives, trying to prioritize, and one focused on the technical? Obviously, one person might be able to do both depending on the size of the company, but will we maybe start seeing a divestiture of the two different hats data people traditionally wear?
I feel that business mindset is something that every data engineer should actually have. So they, when they're developing something, they need to know what impact it makes, and then it's really helpful to actually have that understanding how it actually aligns with the overall goal, and how it actually helps the business. That would help you shape the way that you design the product. That will definitely help you the approach that you are taking in solving that problem.
Absolutely. I love it. I think I ask questions about that because I can see, and I talk to a lot of people on the data side. I can see some shifts in the way data teams have been built, how they've responded, not the pressure, but now the added responsibility of looking at LLMs and how to incorporate Gen AI. And it's all becoming so much more technical. So when I look at somebody with your background, obviously, I'm like, well, he's been a software engineer. He's dealt with data, he's dealt with ML. So the pieces that he has to deal with are a little bit more fluid to him. They're within the construct. But and I think that we're seeing the understanding that data is no longer, hey, how long does it take to get here? Hey, I need to think about this months in advance. Because, and I guess my final question to you, because obviously data as a product, is how far are you starting to plan the roadmap out? Obviously months, but how far out are you starting to see that your roadmap for productization is kind of edging out?
So I have frequent conversations with my product when I'm doing the roadmap planning. So at the end of every year, then you do the roadmap planning for the following year, and then this is basically the first 2 quarters you have clear understanding of the project that go in, and then the last 2 quarters are kind of directional, where you actually try to plan things. And then every quarter you try to see where the the status of the project is, and then trying to make sure that you don't actually you deliver it on time, and then if there is a risk, how to effectively communicate it to business or product, and how to actually mitigate that risk and things like that. So quarterly meetings should also happen. In addition to that, more frequently, once in 2 weeks or so, trying to keep the stakeholders posted on the progress, and that should also be happen on a individual project level granularity. So it's an ongoing thing, and it's a continuous spectrum to actually collaborate with the product, and making sure that we provide updates to them on the status.
Awesome, Santhosh, man. I love your views. I appreciate you coming on, talking about data as a product. We touched a couple different areas that I think kind of relate, and some of the story of people actually doing the work. So I appreciate it. I know we didn't cover everything. I know we didn't exhaust everything, and somebody might actually have a question to follow up with you. if somebody does want to reach out to you, what's a good way of contacting you if they want, discuss something you mentioned on the podcast?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think LinkedIn is the best way. I'm pretty much active on LinkedIn, and yeah, I can answer questions on LinkedIn in mail messages. Yeah.
Okay, perfect, man. Again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. That's it for the episode. We'll be back again, different guest, different topic. Two things. One, please share this with somebody else, right? I think, talking about data as a product, especially if you're on the data side, is key. And I actually would love to see the discussion edge into CTOs and VP of engineering, because the collaboration is now kind of broader than it was before. So please share this with somebody else who might benefit from it. Like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how the podcast is doing. I appreciate that. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.